Hi, L'chaim, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. We are in Parshat Ki Tetze this Shabbat. Got the whiskey ready. Why are we so happy? Because this week's Parshah contains 74 mitzvot out of the Tariag mitzvot inside the Torah. That's 613 mitzvot, 27 positive commandments, and 47 prohibitions. More mitzvot, actually, than any other Torah portion. So it's a portion so rich in mitzvot, it's naturally filled with profound life and lessons as well. So I will definitely drink to that, and l'chaim for that. I'll open that up in due course. Be'ezrat Hashem. Now, one of the most, let's say, beautiful aspects of a mitzvah, let's just say, as a reward for performing it, we are given the opportunity, therefore, to perform another mitzvah afterwards. Mitzvah goret mitzvah. This the terminology that's used so much, which the Mishnah itself, let's say, does vouch that that's going to happen. Now, the great commentator of the name Rashi highlights this concept, explaining the juxtaposition of several mitzvot in this parsha and how it illustrates how one mitzvah leads to another one, and then another one, let's say, in a continuous chain. Now, consider the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen, which we learn about, the sending of the nest. The Torah instructs over here, if a bird's nest chances before you on the road, on any tree or on the ground, and it contains fledglings or eggs, if the mother is sitting upon the fledglings or upon the eggs, you shall not take the mother from upon the young. You shall send away the mother, and then you shall take the young for yourself, in order that it should be good for you, and you should lengthen your days over here. So what's this come to say? Now, essentially, if someone finds a nest and wants to take the eggs or young birds, they must first send the mother away. Now, says the great commentator Rashi, what we need to watch what happens over here. With the prosperity you will merit as a reward for fulfilling this mitzvah, this commandment, you will build a new home, and you will then be positioned to fulfill the mitzvah of ma'akeh, which is outlined in subsequent verses. That's obviously ma'akeh, building, let's say, a fence around, especially, for example, one's balcony. If there's no fence, you know, the dangers that could be involved. When you build a new house, you shall make a guard rail, a ma'akeh, for your roof, so that you shall not cause blood to be spilled in your house. That's the one who falls, God forbid, should fall from it. Now, as an extra reward for fulfilling the commandment to send away the mother bird, you will also be blessed with two other things, vineyards and fields. This will obligate, mitchayev you, in the mitzvot of kelayim. Also, this is a prohibition against mixing seeds, species, or grain, or vegetables, or crossbreeding animals, and ploughing your field with an ox and donkey simultaneously, or any two types of different animals. Now, additionally, over here we're going to see, you will be blessed with fine clothing, obligating you in the mitzvah of shadnez, a prohibition against wearing cloth that contains both wool and linen, which is very much spoken about in this week's parsha. Thus, by reading just verses 6 to 12 of a single chapter, we see a specific domino effect with regards to mitzvot, how one leads to the other. Now, for example, the mitzvah of sending away the mother bird before taking her eggs or chicks would appear to be a lesson in compassion over here, naturally. Now, the Gemara itself refers to this mitzvah as something called a chok. You know, a chok is a divine decree for which no reason is given. Just like we learned about the Para Aduma and Parshat Chukat, this very much is similar over here. The Mishnah admonishes that anyone who adds to the prayer service over here, your mercy extends upon the nest of birds, is to be silenced. In other words, don't presume that the reason for this mitzvah is God's compassion. Now, true, in our limited understanding, it may seem that it's all about mercy and compassion, but when we assume this, we are in a sense selling, God forbid, God short over here, limiting him by attempting to define him by our human perception. Now, the mercy he displays towards the bird is, in fact, a heavenly decree beyond our understanding. Why is this? Just because we think we know God's reasons for something doesn't necessarily mean we are correct. This is crucial to keep in mind when performing mitzvot. We must do so only because God commanded us and not for any other reason. Now, attraction of goodness over here. Taking a closer look at the mitzvah to build a fence around your roof, we find that the Torah uses an interesting expression. Build a protective fence so that one who falls shouldn't fall. Now, this touches on a fascinating theological question. God runs the world, life, and death are in his hands, as we know. People don't just fall off roofs. Everything is predestined. One now might argue, the debater, if this person is destined to fall off the roof, why would I be held liable over here? If he is not meant to fall, he won't fall, regardless of whether the fence is built or not. Now, this argument is actually partially correct. No one falls off a roof without it being part of God's plan, which is why the person is referred to as the one who falls. Nevertheless, it doesn't have to be your roof. Let it happen through someone else. Now, God enables good things. God enables good people to do good things. When a poor person is destined to be fed and cared of, God finds good people, those who seek to do good deeds and kindnesses, and allow them to be the ones to help. Good things are brought about through good people, and the opposite is true as well, as we very much know. Now, when something negative might occur, God forbid, God finds the type of person who ignores the mitzvah of building a protective fence around his roof, and the person destined to, let's say, God forbid, to his death falls specifically from that person's roof. Now, there's a topic of separation and sensitivity also. The mitzvah of kilayim, as we mentioned about before, includes a prohibition against having animals of two different species work together in the field, such as jointly ploughing, threshing, or pulling a wagon. You shall not plough with an ox and donkey together, as it states. One reason for this mitzvah over here is to maintain the separation of the pure from the impure. An ox is kosher animal, while the donkey is non-kosher. The pure should not mix with impure. That's another principle. Now, this principle also applies to human relationships. Righteous people, tzaddikim, or those striving to be righteous, should not assimilate, let's say, and blend in with the wicked people unless they are certain they can influence them without being influenced themselves. Another reason we avoid ploughing with an ox and donkey together is out of sensitivity. The ox, being a kosher animal, chews its cud, while the donkey, a non-kosher one, doesn't. When the donkey sees the ox chewing, it may mistakenly think that the ox has just been fed, while the donkey has not, causing distress to the donkey. This is considered obviously insensitive and cruel. If God is so concerned about the feelings of an animal, obviously imagine how careful we must be with feelings of our fellow human being. Another motto, you could say, happy wife, happy life. Another mitzvah in the Parshah of the commandment for a groom to remain with and not apart from his bride during the first year of marriage. As such, he is exempt from military service during this time. It states, when a man takes a new wife, he shall not go out in the army, nor shall he be subjected to anything associated with it. He shall remain free for his home for 1 year and delight his wife, whom he has taken. Now, what is the newly wed husband to do during the first year of marriage when he is not supposed to leave the house? It says, V'simach et ishto. The word et over here can either introduce a direct object, namely his wife, or it can mean with over here. There are two ways to interpret the verse. One is that he shall rejoice with his wife. They should have a year of partying, but that's not the correct interpretation. V'simach et ishto means that he must make his wife happy. A husband is not meant to focus on his own happiness. That is not his obligation. The primary obligation of a Jewish husband is to ensure that his wife is happy. If his wife is happy, his children are happy, and his family is happy. Chances are he'll be happy as well, but his happiness is not his job. It is a byproduct doing his job well. Now, another mitzvah in the Torah portion is to be honest with weights and measures. Now, you shall not keep in your house two different ephah measures, one large and one small. Rather, you shall have a full and honest weight and a full and honest ephah measure, in order that your days will be prolonged on the land, which obviously the Lord our God gives to you. This is what it says. Now, this mitzvah over here is directly followed by the mitzvah to never forget what Amalek did to the Jewish people. Remember what Amalek did to you on your journey out of Egypt. How they surprised you on the road and cut off all the weak people at your rear. When you were parched and weary from the journey, and they did not fear God over here. Now, the Lubavitcher, I think one of the great Hasidish Chabad rabbis, actually, the explanation, I think it was maybe the Rebbe's one, of the connection between these two mitzvot is both instructive and eye-opening. Rashi actually, I believe, quotes a medrash explaining the juxtaposition, saying that if you use fraudulent weights and measures. You shall be worried about provocation from the enemy. He cites the verses from the book of Mishlei, Proverbs. Deceitful scales are an abomination of the Lord. When willful wickedness comes, then comes disgrace. Now this means that after you intentionally, God forbid, sin by using deceitful scales, the enemy will provoke you into war, leading to disgrace. Now this may obviously naturally seem very, very harsh. The punishment does not appear, let's just say, to fit the crime. While God forbid someone cheats with weights and measures, obviously we know it's wrong. Does it warrant a lethal attack by our enemies? Now the answer lies in understanding the essence of Amalek. I think the great Hasidic thinkers, for example, they teach that Amalek represents apathy, a cold, uncaring approach to Torah and Mitzvot. When the verse says that Amalek encountered you on the way, the Hebrew word for encountered is karcha, which also means cooled you off. Amalek is a voice that denies divine providence, suggesting that everything is mere coincidence. It's a suffix of it. He chills your excitement for Judaism. When you become excited at prayer, Torah study, or giving charity, Amalek says, relax, chill, take it easy. You know, what is this? It's a load of waste of time. You know, why do all these mitzvot, so on and so forth. That's Amalek's style of it. How does Amalek's attitude infiltrate our lives? It starts with dishonesty over here, in weights and measures, and on a deeper level with a lack of proper balance in education and child raising. Parents and educators must teach children that there is a balance between worldly and Torah views. Torah, Mitzvot, and Judaism should be at least as important as our secular pursuits, obviously much more. That it's the essence of everyone's life. And for example, there's an example given over here. When a child comes home from school with a straight A's, top marks, 100 out of 100, and the parents make a big deal about it, perhaps with a special reward or outing they get. But when the same child comes home from Hebrew school with straight Alephs, the parents merely say nice. The child receives a message that Torah studies are less important than secular studies. And I want to stress something else out. I think I just heard this actually today. I was recording with a rabbi. It was yesterday, so just a sneak preview because I record with different Jewish personality every single day. He said that people back 100 years ago in America, was quoting Rav Moshe Feinstein, the great rabbi, and how people, Mesirat Nefesh, they didn't work on Shabbat, because in those days they would lose their job if they didn't work on Shabbat. And so many people, righteous people, they say, we're not going to work on Shabbat and we'll lose our job at the end. But then Rav Moshe Feinstein, I believe, was perplexed. How are these people, their kids? Some of them aren't that from at the end. They didn't take heed to this. Look at the sacrifice, the Mesirat Nefesh that has been taken place here by the parents. So Rav Moshe Feinstein said, how was it that the parents told the kids that they sacrificed Shabbat? Did they say enthusiastically, kids, you know how important Shabbat is, how great Shabbat is? They've come with loads of rules and regulations here in America that we have to work on Shabbat, but we've given up on it because we know how great Shabbat is. Or was it the attitude was, oh, we've lost everything, how are we going to survive? Oh, we've given this all up for Shabbat, and so on and so forth. Or did they say enthusiastically the mitzvah that they've done, Mesirat Nefesh, or did they say it in a negative way? Which kind of say? Now we know that each mitzvah brings another mitzvah in its wake, as we've seen over here. Bezrat Hashem will hopefully merit for the mitzvah that will finally tip the scales and bring in, Bezrat Hashem, the rebuilding of the third Beit HaMikdash. Amen. In our days now. I heard this fantastic notes, I believe, from Rabbi Yoshua Gordon. I think he actually works for Chabad, I think, in the valley in Tarzana in California. I believe. Well, I'm not too sure if he's still working there or not. But I think at one stage in time he was a director of Chabad of the valley in Tarzana. It could be, I believe he passed away in 2016. Once again, thanks very much for Chabad.org for this excellent insight. I'm wishing all a Shabbat Shalom. Take care, and I've got the L'chaim here. So I'm going to get ready to open up soon. So take care and cheers.